quite yet. I'm going to tweet that I'm about to stream and sketch just a little bit. Give people a little time to filter in. But hello, if you're watching this recorded. Nice to see you. Thank you very much for checking the channel out. Yeah. All right. If you hear anything weird tonight, there's a huge storm brewing. The sky is darkening and the wind is really howling. Every once in a while it makes the window shake, which makes the door shake. It's pretty intense. Oh wow, people are already popping in, even though I'm early. Hello, Geek Workshop, Jesus, Nintendude, Ghost Dog. Oh, Nintendude says that he finished inking his Frank from Donnie Darko. Good job, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I am early, Ghost Dog. I'm not quite really doing anything yet. I just turned it on. I'm about to tweet what I'm doing and sketch just a little bit more with my pencil. I was sketching and I was like, well, I should live stream. So just turning it on a little bit early, but I'll get started properly soon. Good early evening, says Lobo. Thank you. Hope everybody's doing all right. Excuse me. Still getting over a little bit of a cough. Not too much, but I'm feeling good, but still got a little bit of a cough. Annoying, isn't it? Oh, pop-up window I need to close so that I can see the chat. Let's see. Geek Workshop says that he just picked up a couple DC Rebirth comics. Sounds kind of cool. I haven't read anything from Rebirth yet, but I'm actually kind of curious. I kind of miss DC these days. So that took me forever to tweet for some reason, but now I'll post it on the Facebook page for the group. Hey Shirley, nice to see you in the chat. Nintendo says that he made his drawing a lot more terrifying unintentionally. Well, that doesn't sound like a problem. That sounds cool. What was there a prompt that you were working off? All right. So I had an idea today, and we're going to see if I can make it happen. The prompt for today was filthy. And after a little bit of thought, I remembered that fantastic, iconic shot of Martin Sheen in Apocalypse Now. He's covered in mud and war paint, and he just emerges at night out of the water. And I was thinking, you know what? I could do something with Walking Dead that pays homage to that idea. So I'm putting Carl in the water. I'm going to have, maybe if I've got time, draw some sort of zombies in the background. And I'm also covering him in like guts and offal so that he's sort of masking himself. Kind of a weird little idea I had. Geek Workshop says if he was drawing, he would have drawn Filthy Frank. Who's Filthy Frank? I feel like I've heard that before. Let's see. Hold on. Got a message here. There's a guy named Andy who writes to the show saying Wow. He says that he watches the live streams here. His grandmother, who raised him, is dying with Alzheimer's in hospice care. And he wrote to say that he likes to watch the show to have a pleasant distraction. That's some really heavy stuff. That sounds really tough to deal with. And you have my sympathy. Um, just be strong. Be strong. Thanks for the kind words. Wow. So we're starting off pretty serious. It's a meme. Oh, it's a YouTuber. Okay. Interesting. Hello, Sigamigs. My cat seems to want to come in, so I'm going to be right back and see if he wants to. Yeah, I've dealt with Alzheimer's too in my family geek workshop. I agree, it's tough. You want to come in? Come in or out? All right. Then you're going to have to show up on camera. This is Milo. He's my buddy. And he wanted to hang out, huh? But he doesn't want to be eaten. All right. Gonna just hang out? Say hi to everybody. Goof. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. He probably doesn't like that sort of stormy weather that's out there. Probably makes him nervous, so he wants to stay with me. All right. Milo, Shirley says hi. All right, so I bought myself a new pen. It's oh, okay. Bye, Milo. Thanks for covering me with cat hair. See what this new brush is like. Lovely. Wait, this is not my new brush. This is my new brush. A lot of people said hello to you, kitty. He doesn't care. He's a cat. Thank you all for being nice to my cat. I'm sure in his weird cat-like way he sort of appreciates it. He's gonna hang out apparently. Just sort of make me just a little nervous as he hangs out in the room. I have no idea what he wants. He might just want attention, but on his own terms. So this is going to be sort of Walking Dead inspired. I don't know if anybody out there watches it. Oh, Chrissy says that he's not allowed in here. Well, good news. He left. He just wanted to stop by for a second, and then he decided that it wasn't for him, I guess. I'm in trouble. Yep. Hello, Anja. Starting to get some regulars. I'm going to feel guilty if I just flat out stop doing these. There are people showing up for it. I didn't necessarily expect that. Don't know. I decided to live stream this to sort of hold myself accountable, as in, if I made the promise, I guess you might say, if I made the promise to live stream, then I'd have to keep doing it. I couldn't just sort of quit if I got frustrated. But it's got an audience, so that's unexpected but nice. Lobo has a question. Can you name some times you were completely surprised by a comic story turn? An example would be the reveal at the end of the original Thunderbolts #1. Yeah, that one surprised me. That was a really cool reveal and a cool surprise. Watchmen hadn't been spoiled for me, so there's a moment in Watchmen that surprised me quite a bit. Oh, the sort of twist early on in Invincible, that surprised me. Didn't know that was coming. So yeah, there's been several comics that have given me some nice surprises. Guess I don't necessarily have any others off the top of my head, but there's a few. When I take my lunch breaks at work, I often take them in our company cafeteria. And they play a lot of sort of 50s doo-wop music. I guess that's just what the kitchen staff all kind of likes. There's this one song that gets played a fair amount, and I heard it today. And I finally sort of took notice of it, because I was like, that's kind of a weird song to be singing. It was, they go, she was only 16, she was 16, and it just keeps singing about a 16-year-old girl, and I'm like, this is crazy. Who thought it was okay to start singing about 16-year-old girls? Because it isn't like being sung by, you know, a young Justin Bieber or whatever. Actually, I guess he's probably grown up now. This makes me feel like an old man. But it was like, it's like a chorus of like 4 grown men going like, she was 16. And I'm like, this is a terrible song. Hello, Slyfly Guy. Hello, Mike. Where are these Inktober prompts coming from? I'm not sure what the organization is that sort of puts them out. I just sort of Googled Inktober prompts, and there's a bunch of results, and they're all the same. So there's some group out there that sort of came up with this idea, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Good question. I just haven't sat down and looked up who invented this whole thing. I guess I need to be a more curious person. Ghost Dog says, would you ever make a video or a series of videos explaining how to create your own comic and get it published? Hold only if there were a lot of people asking me to. I think that there's a lot of resources out there for figuring something like that out. So I feel like I'd just sort of be noise. I think that there's been books, and there very well could be already a ton of videos out there for all I know. So I'm not against talking about it. I just feel like I might be noise. I feel like it might have been kind of covered already by various sources. I don't know. Maybe that's not the case. Um, yeah, Mike L points out that there's another weird song in that same vein, "Young Girl, Get Out of My Mind." That one is weird. It's like a guy like pleading with a girl to get out of his mind. It's like, no, dude, you're just not supposed to be thinking about that stuff. Like, turn yourself in, get some therapy. It's creepy for like sort of a love song. It goes, "Young girl, get out of my mind. My love for you is way out of line. Better run, girl. You're much too young, girl." And that's a hit song. That's crazy. Ghost Dog says I've got an angelic voice, so thank you. Yeah, I think that's the song I'm thinking of. Mark Bariner says, "She was only 16 and I was too young to care." I think that's it, but it's a little creepy. Mike L says, one of his favorites: "If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. So from my personal point of view, get an ugly girl to marry you." How do these songs get invented, and how do they become a hit? You should do a slideshow type video on the 1st of November of all of your Inktober sketches. Maybe. Some of them I don't really like too much. They didn't quite come out the way I planned, but maybe. I don't think it would get a ton of views, but it also wouldn't be too hard to put together, so yeah, maybe I will. Appreciate the suggestion. Now these songs are stuck in my head. I'm thinking like, oh, Jesus, I'm not even going to repeat them. They're not supposed to, I don't think, be like creepy, but when you think about it, they just are. Very strange. The next time my father criticizes like modern music, I'm just going to be like, take a closer listen to that doo-wop stuff you listen to. It's creepy. I do like the nice even black these Pigma markers from Sakura provide. It's really consistent. It's nice. Dr. Hook. They took heat for it, but it was from a 17-year-old's perspective. Still, weird for people to relate to it, right? Mike L says, I mean, we all know what Jerry Lee Lewis was all about. To say it was a different time is a bit neglectful, but there wasn't all this exposure either with the internet and everything. Yeah, I think it was easier to just sort of not get a conversation going with everybody because there weren't as many media outlets to provide that discussion forum. These days, everything gets decided much faster thanks to the internet. I think overall, that part is a good thing, the way news disseminates faster. But I also think it's problematic how we have a 24-hour news cycle that essentially, like, gets bored with important news stories and just moves on. And it's like, nobody said news always had to be fun and exciting. Like, sometimes you just have to have it drilled into you how important something is and what's changing with it every day. So, anyway, my old man crankiness showing up. Better run, girl. Jesus. What were they thinking? I know there's not too much texture to everything yet. I'm spotting a lot of blacks for this. Mike L says that he grew up on Motown and he's only 29. It's true. Nintendo says, I can't stand doo-wop songs. I'm more into Radiohead and types of bands like that. I like some doo-wop just because I did grow up just hearing it on the radio all the time. And you have to, at some point, start sort of like finding the parts of it that you like. But yeah, never my number one genre of music. I think I'm, as of today, like totally changing my mind about what kind of video I'm making this week. I had something scheduled out in my calendar. I was sure it was going to be a good idea. And then I started reading the comic, and I was like, this is just boring to talk about. There's no meat here. There's nothing. And so we're already like most of the way through the week, and I have to sort of start over. It's nervous. I'm nervous. We'll see how it goes. Mark says that I'm a cranky old man yelling at the kids at the playground next door. Yep. What are some bands you're into? Um, let's see. What do I like that's modern? I listen to a lot of 80s new wave, just but that's not modern good stuff. So what I'm scrolling through like what I've downloaded lately. It's all 70s and 80s stuff. Wow. Oh, I like Young the Giant. They're a good band from today that I really enjoy a lot. Um, who else do I like? I always like Foo Fighters. Um, Man, I really miss the Beastie Boys. I thought that they were fantastic. Listen to them a lot. Um, Hmm. What else do I have that's kind of recent? Wow, I'm realizing that a lot of my music is pretty old. Band of Horses, Beatles, but they're not new. I've got a lot by them. Got a lot of David Bowie stuff, and since he only died last year, I'm not calling that old yet. I loved Bowie. I'm trying to just look at like the modern stuff though. Daft Punk I'll sometimes listen to. Some of these I only have like one or two songs, so I don't know if it's fair to say that I like them all that much. There's a guy called Disaster, alphabetical order, just like flying through it. Um, yeah. Did I see Foo Fighters with Rick Astley? No. No, that would have been fun. Uh, Ghost Dog says, I got issues, ultimatum. Good idea. That's a good idea. Mike L says, I've been into Jim Croce lately. Yeah, pretty good stuff. AC/DC says Mark Bariner, and I like them too. Ages caught up with them. Yeah, but classic AC/DC is really good. Ghost Dog recommends 50-Foot Hose. I don't know them. Ever hear of a band called Jamiroquai? Yeah, Chrissy likes them. Mike L says Virtual Insanity. I don't know them. That one's new. Um, a lot of these things I'm looking at, like I realize they're sort of not exactly one-hit wonders, but they had like one or two good albums, so that doesn't necessarily qualify them for like a band that I really like. Huh. And I'm trying to just look at the recent stuff when possible. Yeah. I like Katy Perry. Not all of it, but I like a little bit of stuff from people like Katy Perry and Miley Cyrus. I'm at the point where I really don't care how that makes me look. I just like what I like. So, yeah, there's some stuff by them each that I like. I like pop music, I suppose. Yeah, there's a good amount of pop music that I like. Don't buy it all. I'm just like, it's fine. I like listening to that on the radio or whatever. But if I were to put my iPod on shuffle, we'd definitely be hearing a lot of stand-up comedy and 80s, especially 80s new wave. There's a new punk band called Greta Van Fleet. If you're into pure rock and roll, I am. Greta Van Fleet. All right. Oh, Chrissy is here, and she says virtual insanity, yes, and canned heat. Um, yeah, I know what you mean, Mark. Yeah, AC/DC's music is good. They just themselves got old. I agree. Ba, 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 da, da, da. Mike L says, my guilty pleasure is Taylor Swift. It's so damn catchy. It's not my fault. Of course it's not. I mean, it's popular for a reason. It appeals to a lot of us. I think that like music is one of the few things that really unites humanity. Um, you could say art in general, but I think that I think that more people like or can agree on music, like going like, yeah, that'd be fine to listen to, than they would about what kind of artwork they like to look at, etc. I think a lot of people could agree on listening to music if they were like given just a few suggestions or something, and that would even like it crosses borders, it crosses language borders. Classical music is still a thing that people can listen to and enjoy. And if we look at like the biggest hit songs of all time on YouTube, we have songs like Gangnam Style and Despacito, and it's like, oh, it as long as it just sounds cool, it kind of unites us. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of hope in that there is something that all of us can sort of like, even if we don't get along. We can differ politically, but we might at least be able to listen to the same music. Nah. You should draw a liger. Pretty much my favorite animal. Ghost Dog says that Mike L is blacklisted for liking Taylor Swift. No, not from me. Sorry. Yeah. Mike L says, "Oh my God, Despacito. If it weren't so overplayed, I would absolutely love that song." You know how many times I've heard that song? Once, because I heard it mentioned at work, and I looked it up on YouTube, and yeah, it's got 4 billion views, and I bet it gets played all the time at clubs and on the radio. I don't listen to the radio that much, and I don't go to clubs that are playing that song. So to me, I've only heard it once, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, pretty good song." I had a Lionel Richie phase in high school. No, I'm not kidding. Yeah, there's some good Lionel Richie stuff out there. His videos are a little weird, but that's just a product of its time. Hmm. I found personally that indicating water is always a challenge, especially still water. Very tricky to get right. I think still water is, yeah, one of the tougher things I work on. Mark Mariner says he likes the Commodores. Sigamig says he likes the band Ratatat. For a minute, I read that as Rat Bat, and I was like, is there a name of a band named after a terrible Transformer? Folks, I'm a nerd. My mind goes to some strange places by default. Rat Bat, the band, huh? I wonder what they do. There's no band by that name, sir. Oh, I read like Mr. Magoo. Oh, geez. You guys probably don't even know who Mr. Magoo is. My references are going to be terrible. Oh, Magoo, you've done it again. That's how he sounded. You're going to have to trust me on that one, because you probably don't know who Mr. Magoo is, because I'm old. Nintendo says, hey, what's wrong with Rat Bat? Alright. Nothing's necessarily wrong with the toy. But in the comics, they made him the leader of the Decepticons. And this was a toy that was like as inexpensive, I'll say, a toy as you can get. It was one of those micro cassette tapes, and it transformed into a bat with a rat's face. Very, very tiny. and they were going to say, this guy's the leader of the Decepticons. It just felt weird. You were like, well, who could he really give a challenge to? You know, I don't think Optimus Prime was ever going to have trouble with Rat-Bat. Those Marvel comics. So, if you've watched some of my videos, you may already know this, but Transformers was, in many ways, my entry point into comic books, because I was really into Transformers, and I found out that there were Transformers comic books. So, I started reading them. Cut to like many years later, after I've been exposed to a lot of other comic books, and I realized they were honestly not that good. That's all. Okay, Mark Barrender knew who Mr. Magoo was. Thank you. I've been listening to Gordon Lightfoot and Wolfpack recently. Both are great. That's from CSNG. I like that one song by Gordon Lightfoot. If I find you've been creeping round my back stair. That one. Sundown. Sundown, that's the name of it. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stair. It's catchy. TARDIS Rider says, pretty sure I'm older than you, and I know Mr. Magoo. Yeah. Ghost Dog says, are you going to do more movie reviews? I would love to on a personal level, because I love movies. I go to a fair amount of movies. But that's a pretty crowded area on YouTube. And I didn't really get too many views on my little Transformers rant that I made. So right now, I don't think I would. If I had a friend that was local and wanted to do it with me, then I might think about it. But I don't have any friends that want to work on YouTube stuff, really, at least not regularly. So right now, I probably wouldn't. It's very intimidating to me to think of competing against, not against, but like, I'm not against them, but like for the same audience, against somebody like Red Letter Media that I think has really done a great job coming up with a really engaging angle for film criticism. I really, even when I don't agree with their opinion, I really like their format, and I don't know what format I could come up with that's as engaging as something like that. So those are some of my hang-ups on why I might not want to do something like that. Would I enjoy talking about movies? Very, very much. I definitely have plenty of thoughts. I've got my favorite directors and my favorite movies and so on. But I worry that it's a crowded market to break into compared to comics. Attitude Era Gaming is saying, not mad. It's leather. It's okay. So he's basically saying that he's not mad that I'm not drawing Leatherface because at least it's Walking Dead. Well, thank you. I'm probably not going to draw Leatherface anytime soon, just so you know. I don't have a cool idea on what I would do with that, so I don't have a lot of interest. And I'm not against the character or anything. I just don't have a good idea for how I would approach it. So, just trying to set your expectations there. Nintendo says everyone does movie reviews now. It's honestly pretty annoying. Yeah, but on the other hand, you can sort of find a critic that you like their take on things, right? So I mean that part's I kind of like. Like you don't have to watch them all. There's a lot of movie critics on YouTube that I just don't have much interest in watching. Like people have said, like, oh, you should try what is it called? The guy that yells at everything. He's fairly popular too. I'm blanking on what he's called. Um, anyway, whatever. It's not that important. Nostalgia critic. Okay, that's Nintendo's all-time favorite. Now, I personally don't necessarily care for his reviews, but I don't have anything at all against him. I just sort of feel like he sort of yells a bunch instead of making jokes. Um, but some people really like that delivery, so I'm not like saying that that's bad. I'm just saying that that's like not what I like. I really like Red Letter Media, but some people are like, oh, those guys, just sort of do the same sort of drinking and old man type jokes all the time. So yeah, I can understand that. Mike L says that that's just his niche, that is what works for him. And AVGN, yeah, I agree. He yells about how shit the games are, so that's fine. I actually do like Angry Video Game Nerd. He usually cracks me up, but it's usually not the him just coming up with a new version of shouting about diarrhea that necessarily cracks me up. But yeah, I appreciate people crafting a narrative that isn't necessarily distracting from the review. I think that that's a very tricky line to walk. I think it's a tricky needle to thread. I think it's other metaphors that I'm not even coming up with right now. There's all sorts of metaphors. Young girl, get out of my mind. My love for you is way out of line. Better run, girl. I'm dangerous, girl. Things get stuck in my head. No es bueno. This is an interesting little challenge, trying to sort of draw shadows on still water. Keep it consistent. All right, let's see. Sigamigs asks, who's your favorite Walking Dead character? My favorite character. I would say it used to be Glenn. I miss Glenn. Talking the comics. I felt like he underwent an interesting arc, and I think he was a good character. It's usually not Rick. I feel that Rick changes his morals a little too much. But I like Michonne too. She's good. Mark says that his favorite is Eugene. Ken Ives says reflections in water are so fun to draw and paint. It is kind of an interesting little exercise. I think it's easier actually with paint because I can use more color and I can smudge things to sort of give it an authentic look. Not too clear. But this is kind of fun. Ooh, mi estómago es muy. I forget the word for hungry. It's rumbling though. Ay, ay, ay. I had a pretty light lunch, just a salad. Not a huge one. I missed a few things, sorry. Nintendo says go over Carl's hat some more so you don't get streaks. What do you mean, just darken it or something? I mean, it would be nice for this to look good, but I also think that, like, if you give it a nice black, once you scan it, you can adjust the settings and the blacks become the blacks and everything else fades away. So unless that's not what you meant. CSNG said that he watched the giant robot fight, but that it was pretty underwhelming. That's too bad. Do you think they should have kept Frank Darabont on The Walking Dead instead of firing him ruthlessly? That's from the Ghost Dog. Yeah, probably. If they could have found a way to make it work, I think that he would have benefited the show tremendously. I think that's too bad that it didn't work out. I think that the show sort of slowed down for a lot of season 2 while he was in charge, but if you look at the history of it, the AMC drastically cut the budget at that time, and there's only so much you can do without money. So I think that if he had the right resources, if he had the budget that the show enjoys today, I think he's a really talented storyteller. I would have liked to have seen the show stay with him and give him a chance. Wasn't to be. I'm not privy to anything that went on, behind the scenes, so I don't know what happened there. But I think he probably would have made a really good show if he'd had the time and resources that he wanted. All right, time to flip to a different brush. All right, if you were up to a funny sketch of Leatherface, you could do him putting gas in his chainsaw. Yeah, I guess so. Tell you what, if you can get 10,000 signatures asking me to draw Leatherface, I will draw Leatherface. But it has to be 10,000, and you have to verify them with social security numbers. Hi, cat. My cat is back. TARDIS Rider says, at first I thought you were doing Jonah Hex. No, I was trying to draw Carl Grimes from Walking Dead, just sort of making his way through the water in the evening, but I'm not 100% sure if that's clear or not. Chrissy's shouting no, but I'm not sure why. Kind of off topic. Have you ever read Yosagi Yojimbo, says Comic Book Guy? Yeah, absolutely. It can be very good. I like Stan Sakai. I think his artwork is good. I think he's a great letterer. I think he's got a great little idea with Usagi Yojimbo. I think I said Usagi, but it's Usagi. Yeah, I think that exploring all the time of feudal Japan is very interesting, and it's a long period of time to explore. I think it's totally warrants comics of all types. Just like there can be all sorts of westerns, I think that there could be a lot of interesting stories about feudal Japan. Oh, cool. Mike already got the 10,000 signature. I'll show them to you when you produce the goods. No deal. No deal. That ain't how it works. Yeah, I'm trying to sort of draw a coral. All right, I got to chase my cat out of this room. He's not supposed to be in here. Attitude Era Gaming's asking me if I've played the Friday the 13th game. Yeah, I played the Friday the 13th game quite a bit. I think I got up to level like 35 or 36 with that game. Haven't played it lately. Been playing Destiny 2 lately, but I still jump on every once in a while. I jumped on over the weekend for a little bit with a friend of mine. I like the Friday the 13th game. I supported that Kickstarter, waited patiently, and I'm very happy with the results. Yeah. So how's everybody's week going? It looks like we're making it to the we made it to the middle. We're getting there. Let's see. Mike L says, I think Westerns should make a comeback in both comics and movies, but the spectacle is always too high. Subtlety is great for that genre, and it's all action, action, action every time somebody makes it. That's a good point. It's also important to note that like when Westerns first became popular, it had been well under 100 years since that was our time in history. Uh, that's why it would be like us looking at World War One or Prohibition era gangsters right now, which was a long time ago, but also in the scheme of things, not that long ago. So yeah, it's just worth noting like how far in the past something was when it became popular, like if it's about the past. Attitude Era Gaming says PS4 or Xbox. I play on the PS4. Mark says he remembers Friday the 13th on the NES. Not so good. Yeah, that was a ridiculously tough game. Tough because of bad design. Yeah, that wasn't fun. You know what's funny is that the new version, in a lot of ways, duplicates the same idea of like running around camp and escaping Jason and sort of collecting certain items. It's funny how similar in some ways it is to the overall idea that that game had, and yet completely different in terms of playability and what's fun about it. Ghost Dog says Westerns are dope. Wish they were more accurate to what time was actually like, though. Well, I mean, it's a long stretch of time too, so you have to be like very specific with like what kind of story are we trying to tell here. Because it's easy for it to all get sort of jumbled together, but that's not very accurate. I'll come up for air to look at the questions in just a second. Thank you for bearing with me as always. And we have, what do you use to whiten your ink to add white streaks in it, I guess? A Presto Jumbo correction pen from Pentel when I need to. And I probably will in a little bit for if I go back to this grass. So yeah. My 8-month-old loves your voice. Good. That's been my main goal. When I started this channel, I said, I'm going to work on honing a voice that babies like. At the point that an 8-month-old enjoys my voice, I know that I can stop making these videos about comic books and be ready to be a dad. So, with that said, I'm going to go buy a baby. And it's been nice talking to all of you over the last year and a half. But I've set out what I wanted to accomplish. I've got a good baby voice now, so I'm ready to be a dad. I make myself laugh. Oh, I make myself laugh. Any other questions? Anyone have any recommendations for free Steam games? I love Fallout Shelter. I don't use that service, so hopefully somebody else can chime in with some recommendations for Mark. He's just asking for good games on Steam. So come on, everybody. Band together and give him some recommendations. Ghost Dog says, gross, babies. I've been working on my inking since you've started your stream. We're in this together, Chris. We're all in this together. we're gonna all improve our artwork, right? Right. What else? TARDIS Rider says, I know some places where you can buy a baby pretty cheap, but they're used. Oh yeah, where's that? I might be interested in adopting a slightly used baby, as long as it's on the up and up. I think I could be a pretty good dad. I'd even let them chew on my comic books if they wanted to. It's all up to you, baby. You want to chew on a comic book? Go nuts. Do you think piracy is a big issue in comic books today? I definitely do. I definitely do. It's a little too easy to make digital scans, digital copies, etc., and someone will put it out there. It's unfortunate. So I think the trick might be making it easy to buy them digitally and affordable, because I think that music was in danger briefly, and then they were just like, oh, well, just $1 a song, and you can like buy it with a click. It's like a lot of people will be like, yeah, okay, I'll buy it for that. So why are digital comic books the same price as a print issue? That doesn't really make sense. You're going to get a lot more volume if you make it really easy. And I'll tell you, that Comixology app used to be so much better before Amazon bought it, because you could just buy comics right there in the app, done. Now you have to buy it on Amazon's site and then download it and read it in the app. That's a hassle. Nobody wants to deal with that. So I think that there are some steps, some easy steps to take, and that's not my job to figure this stuff out. But there are people out there that can figure out more solutions than that. But it's solvable. Yeah. Piracy is a problem, and the industry could be making a lot more money if they just figured out a way to make this happen. Mark Berner made me laugh by saying, make sure you touch the baby with a horseshoe occasionally to test for demons. Oh, TARDIS Rider said nobody said nothing about it being on the up and up. Oops. Mike says, at the end of Inktober, can you give us a November 1st live stream where you give us something with an original design? I mean, like a character or monster, something off the top of your head. Well, I mean, I might be doing that before the stream ends. I'm just not like putting much thought into what to draw until the last minute. I just look at the prompt and see if I can figure something out. Like just a couple days ago, like I wasn't really drawing a character. I was drawing Hong Kong because I just felt like drawing a city street. So am I going to draw an original character? I'll give it some thought. I might. The part of me that's choosing to use existing characters is also the part of me that's like, well, if I say that I'll draw, a character, somebody might watch it. Who knows? There's a part of me that was being a businessman, being a little mercenary there. Maybe I don't need to be. Still got a little cough. Good evening. Nice ink. I like the heavy black. Thank you. Thanks very much. Trying to get there. Wow. Sorry, the wind is really picking up out there. Geek Workshop says you can pay $2.99 for an hour-long TV show or $2.99 for a comic book which lasts 15 minutes. Yeah, the price is just off. The price is off. It gets a little better for stuff like, a trade paperback or manga. I understand that's where kids are getting their comic books, like, those sources, if they're getting them in print. Because a single issue is more than $2.99 these days. A single issue is, $4 or so. So it's a little crazy. A little. Wow. If for some reason I suddenly blink out, let's just say I won't be surprised if the power gets knocked out because it is really windy out there. We'll see. Hopefully I don't, but it could happen at this point. I missed the Hong Kong. I think I was there for a couple minutes. Yeah, I think that was Tuesday when I did that. Since the chances are slim you will draw Leatherface, you should draw Michael Myers. Well, I mean, that's the same request. I don't know if I'm going to draw any more horror characters or not. If it fits the prompt for the day, I will give it some thought. I mean, it is October. I love horror, so I'll give it some thought. I just don't want to promise anything, I just don't want to promise anything. But I admire your persistence. I don't know if you answered it, but what kind of sketchbook do you have? Because I want to start drawing. Um, this one is a, here, pull it down. Strathmore. I'll flip it around. This is just Strathmore drawing paper. Nothing fancy there. If I was drawing comic book pages, I like to draw on sheets of Bristol paper. That's pretty common for comics. You want something where the pencil doesn't necessarily smear and the ink won't spread, but you don't want it to be too rough a texture, and you don't want it to be too slick a texture. It all gets down to what kind of lead and what kind of ink you want to use, to then determine what kind of paper can best take those tools and make it look the way you want it to look. Just trial and error. Are you excited about the upcoming Apocalypse Now game? Oh, did that I thought that they tried to do a crowdfunding and it didn't work. I didn't know that that was still getting made. Huh. Maybe. I'd have to see their approach, because if they're purely doing it as something like a first-person shooter, probably not. Like, I think that that's too deep a story to just turn into a shooter. If it's got, like, some story elements to it, then maybe. So, guess I'm using up this Sharpie. I don't know too much about it, though, that game. But I mean, it goes perfectly with October 31st, Halloween, Michael Myers. If you don't, I understand. We'll see. I was pretty disappointed in the Jason Voorhees that I drew, so kind of made me feel bummed that I didn't get it right. I was pretty sick at the time, and I was not looking at the overall picture. I had a really good sketch that I had done, and then I botched it when it came to the inking on that Jason Voorhees. Like, the arm, his right arm that's holding the axe is a complete mess. And the way I drew the rags versus his skin is very inconsistent. So I really just screwed the pooch on that one. Disappointed me, because that was the one that I did for sort of myself for fun, and I ended up really. That's probably my overall least favorite thing that I've done, just because I know I could have done a better job. So at some point I'll probably sit down and try to do a better job, but you know, it's disappointing, but it's not like upsetting, because I learned something from it, and that's what Inktober for me is all about, is trying to learn from the mistakes that I'm inclined to make. One of which apparently is to get bogged down in the details and lose complete sight of the underlying form and structure. So, something I need to work on. Good night, everyone. I'm going to finish a sketch and get some rest. Cool, Ghost Dog. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Mike L says, how about some video game stuff like Nemesis or something? Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. Could be kind of fun to do a monster from a video game that maybe hasn't been done too much. Something worth thinking about. I like that idea. Don't know what it would be right now, but not against the idea. Geek Workshop suggests Alien. It's an interesting idea too. I've done some xenomorph art here and there in the past. It's an interesting design to approach. I like that. Keep it all in the idea file for when I decide, oh, it's about time to draw. How about Link from Zelda? I've never done a good one I'm proud of. Yeah, I do like Legend of Zelda. I like that idea. Maybe I could come up with a new take on a version of Link. But yeah, if it's gonna be video games, Link is a good suggestion. If it's gonna be horror, I'm a little more inclined to do something like The Thing or Evil Dead. Those are the two that capture my interest a little bit more right now. So we'll see. Who knows? I don't like to plan too far ahead for this because I like to go in very fresh each day and not overthink this process because it's about doing a sketch, not about necessarily trying to do a piece for a story or anything. Just working on overall illustration skills, not panel to panel skills, not anything fancy like that. That's the goal I've set out for myself, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. We're naming our daughter Zelda, due in February. That is really cool. Congratulations. I love it. I think that's a great name. Thank you for sharing with us. Getting a little quiet here, I guess. So I'll probably wrap this up now. hopefully you can sort of see what I was going for. Um, I don't know if it's perfect, but of course it isn't perfect. I don't know if it's clear what I was going for, but I had fun approaching it. Yeah, helped me personally with a couple techniques, working on some textures, including water and trees, and thinking out where I'd want to make things light and dark. Um, so I have some thoughts on how I might approach this differently if I were to do it a second time, but I think for now I'm done. I've had a good time with everybody, and I'm excited to see you all in the future. I don't think I've got anything else to say, except that I've gotten 2 new patrons on Patreon this week, so I'm really grateful for that. So hopefully, little by little, I'll get a tiny bit of money that I can start spending on the show at some point. Like I say, it's probably pretty close to at least breaking even the way I do things now. It would be lovely to get better equipment some point, but we'll just do it one step at a time. I'm really grateful for that. Thank you for all the interesting questions. Thank you for watching. Uh, hopefully, you got something out of this too. Until I see you next time, keep reading comics.